After America is made on the lands of the Bunurong and Wurundjeri Woiwurrung peoples of the Kulin Nations. We pay our respects to elders past and present and acknowledge that sovereignty was never ceded.
We are in a battle for the soul of America.
This is a fraud on the American public.
Hi, I'm Emma Shortis and this is After America. The Australian government's approach to the Trump administration rests on two big assumptions. The first is that Trump can be, has to be, managed. That if we just navigate things right, we can avoid the worst of his madness. That it is possible to avoid what's happening to Denmark, for example, or the UK, or Ukraine, or Canada, or Taiwan, or Qatar. Seems kind of risky. The second assumption is that we can ride this out, that the alliance is bigger than presidents or prime ministers. And built into that is a belief that the midterm elections will provide some kind of correction, and then Trump himself will be gone at the end of this term and whatever follows will be better.
But just like my presidency, the second time is always better. It's always better. And the third time will be better yet. I'm only kidding.
Trump's speech at the White House Correspondents Dinner wasn't funny, and he's not kidding. To talk about the looming midterms and whether they will matter, how Trump maybe isn't that transactional, and more, this week we're joined by Matt Bevan. Matt is the host of the ABC's wildly popular show If You're Listening and has a new book out with the same name. Here's Matt now. Matt, welcome back to After America. It's been a while. How are you?
Oh, I'm good. I think last time I was on, we were on a train.
We were.
Catching the train from Philadelphia back to DC in,
interviewing each other for each other's podcast.
Interviewing each other. That's right. We were on each other's podcast on that train. And gee, it feels like that was a long time ago.
Yeah, bits happened since then. Including you joining the very exclusive, very cool club of people who've written a book named after their own podcast.
I know.
So congratulations.
Thank you. I'm very glad to be here, Emma. Do you have jackets? Is there paraphernalia that we have? Or?
I'm working on it.
I'm trying to think of who another person is who has.
Yeah, I can't either.
I think the rest of history guys have like a companion podcast, companion book to their podcast. So it's just us three, Yeah. Just like the three of us. Yeah.
Exclusive and definitely cool. On a inevitably more serious note, the book, which is excellent.
Thank you.
A lot of it is about, I guess, contingency in history, like those fleeting moments where something could have gone a very different way. There's a great story, for example, about a hot air balloon being blown off course and the consequences of that. And I mean, partly because I'm a historian, I think about contingency a lot. And because I've been thinking and talking about impending elections in the United States, I've also been thinking about January 6th a lot and contingency around January 6th. What if Mike Pence had taken a wrong turn? What if they had found Nancy Pelosi, et cetera, et cetera?
I think the bizarre thing about January 6th is that it seemed like an event at the time that was going to matter a lot. Mm-hmm. And it turns out maybe it didn't, Yeah. I mean, it mattered a bit in the short term, but yeah. Anyway, sorry, go on. You were partway through a setup.
That's what I wanted to ask you about is that as we're facing another election, like I'm having kind of a fair bit of recall about that event, and I wanted to ask you how you are feeling about volatility in US politics and how you're feeling about the midterms.
Well, I mean, it's interesting because we were in DC for the 2024 election. One of the strange things about that was like how little evidence of that there was in any individual place. I feel like, January 6th was unusual because, I mean, it wasn't an election. It was, it was technically it was an election that had to happen in a single building. But it was an unusual thing because it was focused on a single place, and there was a single point that people could protest around and could, well, I mean, they thought that they could somehow influence the outcome, even though it's extremely debatable that they could, and really they couldn't. But, various people on podcasts had told them that maybe they can. And so that was sort of a real point of focus that people could, protest and cause violence around. One of the interesting things about a national American election, particularly when it's not one for one person, is that it's really, I mean, it feels like a big thing. But I was thinking, about, whether we should take our show back to the US for a similar type of tour that we did in 2024 later on this year in 2026. And I, pulled up the big map of the United States and looked at the districts and the states that are sort of in play in this election. I was like, where would I go if I was going to go on a road trip to try and get an idea of this election? Like, where would I go? And it's basically, you could go to like Philadelphia and like maybe northern North Carolina. And then, then basically you're in like rural Iowa or maybe rural Wisconsin. There really just isn't all that many places that this election is interesting in. And of course, we all know the reason for that. It's because of massive gerrymandering by both sides. But it's extraordinary that you can have this election, which is a thing that is happening across the entire country and that is happening all on one day, but actually only matters in about 6 places. And it is actually a very small event. And when it comes to the actual contestable parts of this election. So, I mean, in a way, that actually makes it kind of more dangerous because you've got individual tiny points of focus in the same way as January 6th was a point of focus in a single place. A single bit of interruption in Philadelphia could cause all sorts of chaos. But on the other hand, in the lead up to it, it's such a strange campaign because so little of there's so little of it that is in doubt. We're only looking at in a Congress of 500 and I
always forget.
It's falling out of my head.
400-ish in the House and 100 in the
400-ish,
Senate.
yes. But in a country of 400 and something seats, only 17 of them in the House are in play, and only a few seats in the Senate are considered in play as well, which is a strange situation to be in. We're looking at 4 states really that may go either way. So yeah, I think it's a really strange situation where you've got such a significant election, but in fact it's only happening in a few places. Yeah. Most of which are not places that anybody knows anything about. Who knows anything about northern North Carolina? I mean, it's really odd.
Yeah, so I mean, it sounds like you're not going.
No, yeah, we're saving the ABC's budget for this time.
For when everyone goes in 28,
Yeah. But I mean the other thing is that committing ourselves to doing a multi-part series on what may or may not be an interesting election. I mean, it might be interesting, but it may not. But you got to remember that only days before the midterm election is the date that seems likely when that the Israeli election is going to be on.
Yeah.
Which could be a much more significant global event, depending on exactly what happens there. And in the days and weeks afterwards, we know that, it's quite common in an Israeli election to not know who the winner of the election is for weeks afterwards. So I'm kind of also looking at it going, well, maybe the midterms will be important, but putting all of our eggs in the midterms basket at a time when the big global story may end up being something happening in Tel Aviv and in Jerusalem, I'd probably just wait in the basement and see what happens.
I mean, it's probably safer. I
had images of myself standing in a cornfield in Iowa, with nothing happening, and seeing, watching my newsfeed on my phone as as everything lit up in the Middle East, and going, gee, this would be so much easier if I had my, multi-screen monitors in the basement.
I wanted to ask you a bit actually about the show in that sense, because it is unusual in that you're making the show from your basement in Newcastle for a huge global audience and an American audience in particular. Like, that's a very unique position for an Australian journalist to be in. One I know many aspire to. But how do you navigate kind of what, or I guess, how do you understand what it is that your audience wants in that sense, and navigate, between these huge global events?
Look, I think my audience wants interesting stories. My audience doesn't come to me for breaking news details, because we take 2 weeks to make each one of our episodes. And so each episode is, if we were trying to do breaking news, we would be significantly out of date. So what people want is the details. And I was actually listening, our episode next week is going to be about Jared Kushner and Ivanka Trump's adventures
the
in
Albania island. Mm-hmm.
It has been dubbed the Flamingo Revolution, and over the weekend, tens of thousands of Albanians once again joined huge anti-government protests.
This is the island of Sazan, off the coast of Albania. President Trump's daughter, Ivanka, and her husband, Jared Kushner, are trying to build a luxury resort here and on a nearby peninsula in a protected nature area.
The couple wants to transform the island into a $1.4 billion luxury resort with 10,000 hotel rooms.
Demonstrators in Tirana waved Albanian flags and held banners reading "Albania is not for sale" outside the office of the Prime Minister.
And I was listening to, while driving yesterday, an episode of the BBC's documentary series, which was fascinating, really excellent, well-made radio documentary, where the reporter had gone to Albania. They were standing there in the village right near the site where this apparent resort is going to be built, talking to people in the village about the effect this may have on their lives, talking to environmentalists in the area, and that kind of thing. And I'm listening to the episode, and there was a part where they said, before we go on, we probably need to do a bit of backstory on Albania. In the 1990s, 2/3 of Albanians all signed up for a group of pyramid schemes. So 2/3 of the Albanian economy became tied up in pyramid schemes, which then collapsed in 1997. In 2002, blah 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 blah, and then in 2008, this thing, and then okay, now we can go back to interviewing the villagers. And I went, no, I want to hear about the pyramid schemes. Can you please explain how 2/3 of a country's economy can get wrapped up in pyramid schemes? Because that's the bit that I want to know about. Mm-hmm. And being on the ground in Albania is not going to get you that information. What's going to get you that information is living in archives and reading contemporaneous reports. And here in the age of the internet and the age of AI, you can do that just as easily in your house as you can. It is in fact more difficult to do that if you are standing boots deep in a wetland on the Albanian coast. Mm-hmm. And it's not feasible. We can't do both.
Yeah.
And we certainly can't do both on a weekly schedule. So we have taken the approach that we are about finding stories, and we use the organisms of the ABC that go out into the world, and we use the reporting of the ABC from the ground mm-hmm. to feed into what we can add that other people aren't as successful at, which is the esoteric and strange and interesting stories that lead to the unusual situations that we are in today. Mm-hmm. I mean, the story about Albania, I mean, I won't go into the entire story of Albania because, then you wouldn't listen to my show. But the story of Albania is of what is happening there with Kushner and Ivanka is only possible because of Albania's history, because Albania was so closed through the second half of the 20th century, they have, uniquely in that part of Europe, enormous areas of untouched wetland areas on their coast that doesn't have any tourist activity in them at all. While Italy and Greece and, Corfu were all being developed massively by developers and by capitalism, Albania was basically North Korea, and then that's why Albania today is undeveloped and a target for developers like Kushner and Ivanka. And going to Albania, without a time machine, we're not going to be able to get that kind of detail. And so we specialize in living in video and audio archives and in reading large swaths of information. And I can do that from my house with my NBN connection. I pay extra for fibre to the premises. It's great.
But also, with your particular set of journalistic skills, that, that's that critical, I guess, piece of that puzzle. And you have been, you're obviously kind of on this theme of money in politics, and particularly with the Trumps. And so I wanted to, I guess, ask you about the challenges in particular of doing that kind of coverage. Like when you're looking, you're making shows about where Trump's money is coming from, how much money he's making, and that, the difficult lines that you have to walk when you're covering those kinds of issues.
Well, I mean, that's a perfect example of a thing that, if I was in Washington, I would have no more access to information about Donald Trump's finances than I do here. What we have is his financial disclosures. What we have is court documents that came out during various court cases that he suffered through between his times in office, and various bits of information that have leaked out at times and become public. And what I'm doing over the last few weeks is I've been feeding all that information into spreadsheets and seeing what I can find and seeing what I can glean from it. And yeah, none of that would be easier if I was in Washington.
Yeah.
And the interesting thing that I think is happening in what we're in at the moment, the current era of Trump, is I felt like in the first era of Trump, all of us who were reporting on Donald Trump spent a lot of time explaining why this was different to the norm. Why, this is a big violation of norms. Oh, presidents have never done this before. Or, some people think that the thing that he's doing here might be illegal. But we will find out maybe in several years. If
the amount of times I was scrambling to be like, has a president ever done this before? I don't know.
Yes. Which was the case and the interesting thing about the first Trump presidency is he did kind of try and pretend to be a normal president sometimes.
Yeah.
One of his favorite little bits that he would do at his rallies is he would stand up, he would correct his posture, which he never does. He usually hunches over, but he would correct his posture and he would walk around. He would strut around the stage do a little march, and I'm very presidential, he would say, and I could be very presidential, but you don't want that. But he was still trying to sort of pretend to be presidential. He hired, generals to be in charge of the military, and he hired CEOs of various big corporations because they seemed like smart guys to be in charge of various departments. Whereas this time he's totally thrown all of that out the window, and he's not even pretending to be interested in the expertise of the people that he's hiring. He's interested in their loyalty. And he's not pretending to not make money out of being in office. There's no pretense of it. The information, maybe there is more information about what he's doing in office in terms of gaining money from what he's doing than is in his public disclosures. But there's plenty of information in the public disclosures to report on. You don't have to uncover things. The stuff that's in his public disclosures is enough to make people's jaw drop. And that's basically what we've been doing because it's a 927-page document and a lot of it is complicated and there are double ups. Is that a different line item to that? Is that different to this? and there's also things like looking at his stock trades. I spent an enormous amount of time looking at his stock trades because there was all this discussion about, is he, he approved this thing with NVIDIA, and then, a week later he was investing in NVIDIA, and he, bought this many shares in NVIDIA and that kind of thing. And that stuff is in the disclosures. But if you push all of the information through from those stock trades into the system, into a spreadsheet, then you actually start to see different things that are a bit different to what you expect. Like what I found was, there's kind of two different things that's going on here. I think that he's doing extremely strange, unique, and never before done things with crypto, and with his World Liberty Financial, and with the Trump organization's dealings with foreign governments. And he's doing all those things, and then taking the cash that he gets from that, because all of it is a process of converting crypto into cash. He doesn't want anything kept in crypto because he thinks crypto is nonsense. So he's all of this is about generating US dollars that he is then investing into things that he believes actually exist, that he trusts in as an 80-year-old businessman. And that's mainly stocks. And if you look at his stock trading, it's actually not as strange as you think. It's pretty standard. He's investing across the entire market. On those days when he buys NVIDIA stocks, he's also buying stocks in almost every other S&P 500 company. He's just going, I think stocks will go up today, and buying, asking somebody to buy a bunch of stock. I don't know that he's necessarily there isn't a lot of evidence in there of him doing anything nefarious with his stocks. I feel like the stock stuff seems fairly normal.
Except that he's like concentrating on that instead of, I don't know, running a country.
Yeah, but he doesn't care about that. No. He's not paying attention. He's I don't know whether you've. I imagine that you have, because I know you, Emma. But I imagine that you've gone into a bit of the stuff from Jonathan Swan and Maggie Haberman's book Regime Change. But he's doing a lot of things that aren't presidenting. But he's doing a lot of things like, the story about Caroline Leavitt, the press secretary, walking into the Oval Office and finding Donald Trump in there with like a big gold thing and super glue, and trying to glue this gold thing to the top of the mantelpiece of the Oval Office in the White House. He's doing a lot of decorating, is what he's doing, and he doesn't have to pay much attention to the crypto stuff. It's just money just is flowing into his accounts. He doesn't really understand why or how, but great, fantastic, love it, and I'm going to put it in the stock market because I think that's the stock market actually exists, and I believe if I continue to president in the excellent way that I've been presidenting, then the stock market will go up, and so that's a good place to have my money. That's I think what he's doing. And all of those things are really a matter of finding context in enormous amounts of information rather than doing on the ground reporting. But that's the thing that we can offer.
Yeah, for sure. You mentioned there, Matt, that like Trump is doing things that make people's jaw drop, which is true, but kind of also it's not. Like we're becoming accustomed, I guess, to this, or sometimes you just have to let it kind of wash over you. But in the process of making the shows, you do speak to a lot of Americans who are in America or people who are covering America. Do you get the sense that their jaws are still dropping? Like, what's the I guess the general vibe that you're getting from friends and colleagues and interview subjects in the States?
It really varies on who you're talking to, but I think so much of their media is really struggling at the moment to understand the scope of what they're watching, and you see so much time spent focusing on the things that one used to focus on. The minutiae of, Trump says there's a ceasefire. It's like, okay, righto. Have we not learned so far that it doesn't actually matter what Trump says? Pay attention to these other factors. It doesn't matter what Trump says about whether there's a ceasefire or not. Trump says he's going to do this. Well, okay, I'll I'll wait around and see if he actually does it.
Yep.
I mean, it's important to pay attention to what Trump says, but not in a, this is a good prediction of what is going to happen in the future kind of a way. I mean, it's a more of an indication of what he thinks is going on in the present than his actual intention to act on anything in the future. And so which is not the way that the media has trained themselves to operate. And they're treating this like, Cara, my producer, has been using the term that, those things happened in the normal times. We are in the jungle times now. And the things that happened in the normal times aren't relevant anymore.
Yep.
And the context that she was talking about it was in the context of Qatar. We had a look in one of our episodes at all of the incredible long-term effort Qatar went to try and shore up their security.
Mm-hmm.
And, they played the game.
Yep.
The game the way that they thought it was supposed to be played, better than almost anybody else. They went, we need to make, we are among the more vulnerable places in the entire world. We're on a sandbar basically off the coast of Saudi Arabia, and people on literally every side of us would really love it if we were under their control. We're extremely, extremely vulnerable. We really only have one resource. We're going to do everything that we possibly can to change those situations. And it was really working for them for a really long time. But that was the normal times. And now we're in the jungle times where Donald Trump goes and bombs Iran and doesn't really think about, I wonder if this will negatively impact the guys who gave me that jet. And it did a lot. It was very bad.
Yeah.
It was very bad for the guys who gave him that jet. And the guys who gave him the jet were like, oh, no.
Mm-hmm.
I really thought that we had a friend here that would actually talk to us before they did something. But things are different now.
Yep. Yeah. And I mean, he's just done the same to the Saudis, proving once again that producer Cara is right. This is not normal times.
But also, like, the thing with the Saudis is, like, he's promised this thing, he's done this nuclear deal with the Saudis, where the Saudis will be able to do this thing, where they'll be able to, enrich their own stuff. I mean, next week it could be the opposite.
Yeah.
I mean,
by the time this goes to air, who knows?
By the time this goes to air, Trump may have, started posting mean posts about MBS. I mean, I think it's unlikely, but
you never know.
You really don't know.
Yep.
There really is no way. I mean, Trump and Mohammed bin Salman might have a meeting and something happens that Trump doesn't like, and then suddenly, Trump's like, we're cutting off all trade with Saudi Arabia.
Yeah.
Out of nowhere, Trump decided that the Spanish were America's enemy the other day, and then it really is. There's no way to assume that what is happening now is going to continue happening next month.
Unfortunately, but we do know that it doesn't matter. Doesn't matter how much you give him. It's never going to be enough.
No, and I think the interesting thing is that a lot of these people kind of go, well, okay, well, I guess this is the way it is. I guess you just have to, give things to Donald Trump, and that's the way that he's a very transactional kind of guy. And I'm not sure that he actually is. He likes things.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you very much.
And then promptly forgets about it.
That doesn't necessarily guarantee that you're going to get anything out of him. I mean, the Gulf states were more solicitous than any other part of the world in the first year of the second Trump administration, and it bought them, the destruction of a quarter of their gas production facilities.
Worse than nothing. Absolutely.
Worse than nothing. Absolutely. Yeah.
We certainly live in wild, not normal times, but
nice time to be in a basement.
So I think it's a good, sensible choice, Matt, to keep making. But we do really appreciate how much you
no worries.
help guide us through the very not normal times.
Are you going to go? Are you going over there, Emma? Are you going?
I'm not. I did think about it very hard, exactly as you did, but no, I've decided not to for similar reasons to you, but also, because things are pretty volatile, and I don't want to spend a couple of hours in a little room at an airport. I don't think that's worth the risk. So,
yeah. See, I sit here in my basement, in my Ugg boots, and go, yeah, that'll be a great story if I, because I'm a cool, hard, tough journalist guy. If I got roughed up in a dark room and then sent on a flight back to Australia, that'd be a really cool story. And then I think about that for about 15 minutes. I go, what would be much better than that is if I didn't do that.
Yeah.
I think I'd actually rather not do that. I mean, it'd be really, I'd love to be the kind of guy who would do that. And Linda Mottram, who was my mentor for many years, is exactly that kind of person. And that's why she spent a big chunk of her career reporting from war zones, and I report from my house.
Well, you do a brilliant job of reporting from your house, Matt, and we appreciate it so much, and especially your time and your generosity on this Friday.
No worries. Thank you. We'll
be back with another episode next week. The latest Vantage Point essay from Australia Institute Press is available for pre-order now. In More For Me, How the Gas Industry Tricked Australia, Australia Institute co-CEO Richard Dennis pulls back the curtain on the gas industry, and he outlines the simple steps we can take to fix this mess. Pre-order More For Me now for just $19.95. Or you can subscribe to the Vantage Point series for just $64.95 to get 4 engaging essays a year. For a limited time only, pod listeners can use the code FOOLME, that's FOOLME, to receive a free copy of Richard's book Econobubble along with your Vantage Point subscription. Visit australiainstitute.org.au/store to pre-order now. This episode was recorded on Friday the 24th of July. After America is supported by the Andrew Farron Foundation and produced by Angus Blackman. I'm Emma Shortis. Thanks for listening.